Good evening, good morning, whenever you're watching. I hope you are having a nice day. I hope that I can bring a little bit of sunshine to your morning or a little bit of calmness to your evening. It's been a little bit since I've done Gear Talk. It's been a little busy here, getting ready for summer, but I am ready. My kids are finishing up school. My youngest has her last week this week, assuming that she passes all of her end of grade exams, which she's extremely stressed about. We'll see. And I'm sure she's going to be fine. She's got A's and B's, so I don't think she's going to have a problem. But those are the sort of things that you stress about when you're 13. And my oldest, she is doing this week, and then she's got next week of tests as well. And then it's going to be summer, so no more waking up crazy early for me. It's a nice little vacation, so I can actually sleep in. I'm usually up at 6:30, get the dogs ready, and then get the kids started with their day around 7 o'clock. So I'm looking forward to sleeping in until 7:30. I know that's probably not too late for some of you, but that is dad life. You get up when your kids get up, you get up when your dogs get up. There's no way around it. So looking forward to summer. Hopefully the dogs will sleep in too. On weekends they usually sleep until 8, so it's nice for me. I'm able to catch up a few hours of sleep, but I don't sleep very well during the week. Got to be, little personal stuff with me. But I'm up, 11 o'clock, maybe midnight. Depends. I've been watching Succession. Great season. If you haven't watched Succession, definitely worth a watch. One of the best shows on television, if you ask me. I think it's right up there with The Sopranos. I mean, it was a really, really great 4 seasons, really, really great series. I hope they never bring it back. I hope they just leave it. I think it was the perfect ending. And then I've been watching Ted Lasso. I haven't seen anything, no spoilers, please. But the series premiere, season premiere, was last night, but it aired at 9 a.m., midnight Eastern, which, usually they start at 9 p.m. Eastern, which is great for me, so I could watch it before bed. But I was unable to watch it, so I haven't watched it. I'm going to watch it after the show, so no spoilers. But I'm very excited. There's a lot of good TV out there. I hope that they bring back, what was it called? The one with Harrison Ford, Shrinking? Is that what it's called? Really great show on Apple TV. I'm also looking for House of Dragons. I was a big Game of Thrones fan. And the first season of House of Dragons was great, so I'm looking forward to the second season. Lots of good stuff out there. I love just sitting down at the end of the day, watching a little show, but point being, I'm usually up pretty late, and that means that waking up at 6:30 is a rough wake-up call. I usually need at least 7 hours of sleep, maybe 8 if I'm lucky. So really, really looking forward to this summer. I can see it 2 more weeks, and I should be loving life, just waking up whenever I want to. But that's neither here nor there, because right now we're going to talk about rollerblading stuff. I don't really care about my sleeping habits, but I hope you are sleeping well. Sleep, super important. One of the most important things. Eat right, drink lots of liquids, do some exercise, and sleep. And I think you will live a long and healthy life. Those are my words. Heed them. I don't know, heed is a word that we use anymore, but anyway. All right, I've been rambling enough. Let's get started. Hey everyone, welcome to episode 115 of Gear Talk. Gear Talk is the show that I do every other week where we talk about the geekier side of rollerblading. If you know the difference between 44 and 47, and why these random numbers were the standard sizes for Antirocker Wheels for many, many years, you've come to the right place. Gear Talk is where we break down the weirdness and the oddities that go into making the perfect rollerblade skates so that you can figure out how to dial in your setup so that every minute that you're out at a session counts. I know I have a very limited amount of time that I can get out to the skate park or that I can go skating. So for me, messing with my equipment when I'm actually out skating is just time lost. I don't want to worry about cuff bolts getting loose. I don't want to worry about clicking and clacking in my frame or in my wheels. I want everything to be dialed so that when I get out there, I skate and all I have to think about is skating. No noises, no crunchiness, no pain in my ankles or wheels that are going to fall off their core. I just want to go out there and skate, have the best session. And then, think about it when I drive home, think about it when I get home, but I don't want to think about it when I'm at the skate park or when I'm out skating. I just want to skate. So this is a good opportunity for you to get your skates if you got them. Hold them tight, hold them close, sleep with them if you need to. But dial them in, clean your bearings, rotate your wheels, all the sort of skate maintenance that you would normally do, and push off for another time. This is a great opportunity to do that. While you're there, I'd love to answer some questions that you might have about your skates. Are your skates as optimized for the way that you like to skate? I don't know. You're going to have to tell me. Are there things that you could be doing better? Are there little tweaks that you could make to your skates? Maybe improved bearings. Maybe you're one of those weird people who don't skate with bearing spacers. They're like $8 for a set of 8. You should definitely get yourself a set of bearing spacers if you don't have them before. But if you've ever felt like, oh, my wheels aren't spinning as fast as they should, well, you come to the right place. We will help you get your skates dialed in. So this is something that I like to do every other week. It's kind of the peak of my week. I know I work as a software developer during the day, so I just write code most of the time. I'm in meetings a lot of time. I really look forward to spending some time skating. I don't get to skate very much during the week, so this is my excuse to talk skating during the week. Every other Wednesday at 9 p.m. Eastern. We do it live on YouTube, which gives us a great opportunity to chat with people who are watching us live. We've got, a few dozen people that like to hang out in the chat and talk about things that are on their mind, any skating related stuff, news, or anything that's on their mind. But it's also a great opportunity to ask questions. So if you have a question and you're watching live, make sure that you tag Back to Blading so that I can see it. It'll show up in an orange background so that I have a little bit of visibility to the question so that I can read it. Love answering your questions. There's a lot of weird stuff going on with skates. That's a really hard thing to search for. So if you've got a question that you haven't been able to get an answer for, throw it in the chat. Make sure that you tag Back to Blading. I will do my best to answer it to the best of my ability. If you are watching this in the future and you are unable to join us during the chat, I understand it is 9 p.m. Eastern. It is a little difficult for people outside of the US to join. It's the best time for me. My kids are getting to sleep, so I don't have to worry about putting them to bed. I don't have to worry about dogs or anything like that. This is the best time for me, and I feel like it works with East Coast people and West Coast people who are now off of work if they get off at 5. So a really good time for me, might not be a great time for you. If you are watching this on the YouTube and we've already recorded it, just leave a comment in the video. I would love to answer your question. It's a really good chance for me to go through and just answer questions. It doesn't have to be anything related to the show at all. It can just be something that may be on your mind about your skates or about something that you might have seen that you wanted to get some more information on. Would love to answer your question, give you some more information about that. Before we get started, I always like to thank our friends over at thehelmetinitiative.org for helping us with our helmet giveaway. I am a huge fan of helmets. I think that is so important that people wear helmets when they skate. And I know that a lot of people don't like wearing helmets, but for me, it's the best piece of insurance that I own. Whenever I go out and skate, the street is not flat. There are cracks, there are rocks, there are sticks. If I go to a skate park, obviously there are transitions. There are ledges that might be sticky in some places. There are scooter kids that can come out of nowhere and you have no idea that they're coming. Any opportunity to fall over is an opportunity to hit your head. And if you hit your head, it could be a serious injury. Topically, just a couple of days ago, I was looking at this on the Facebook. A guy named Joshua Womack got into a serious injury skating around town. He was on the rollerblading group, been skating for a long time, 42 years old, and father of 3, married man, and he went out skating, and he wasn't wearing a helmet. And this wasn't at the skate park, this was just skating around town. And apparently he misjudged an intersection and ran into a car or ran into something. What do you see? He misjudged an intersection and crashed into the back of a tractor trailer, his family said, and had to be care flighted to a hospital and is now on life support. This is not here to scare you. This is here to let you know that things happen in the world that are out of your control. This guy's been skating for a long time. I have friends who have ended up in comas, and it's because they just hit their head. They are great skaters, but things happen. Wearing a helmet is a great way to just take that risk out. Don't even think about it, you know? If you hit your head with a helmet, yeah, it's gonna hurt, and yeah, you might end up in the hospital, but it won't be a serious injury like this. We want to avoid the serious injuries. If you need a helmet, I know that some people are down on their luck right now. Maybe they don't have money for a helmet, and they'd rather spend $50 on wheels or $50 on a new set of liners or something like that. Helmets are not cheap. They're $50 if you get a good certified one. I would love to help somebody out tonight. So if you are interested, go to backtoblading.com/helmet. Backtoblading.com/helmet. And I would love to send somebody a helmet. So we do a helmet giveaway for every show. So whenever I do a gear talk, I do a helmet giveaway. We get as many as 20 or 30 people putting in their names. If you want a helmet, absolutely would love to send you one. If you're in the US, I will send you a sizing chart, and I will ask you what size helmet you need. And I will send you a helmet. We usually have a few color options, so I'll ask you what color you want as well. But I'll get your name and address, and I'll send you a helmet. If you are outside of the US, instead of sending you a helmet, which can get a little expensive for shipping and for import taxes and customs and things like that, we will just send you money. So we'll send you $50 in US dollars. I don't know what that translates to your local currency, but it should be enough to buy yourself a helmet. That way you don't have to worry about any shipping thing. I don't want any money coming out of your pocket for this. This should be a free helmet for people. I really, really want to help people get helmets on their heads. If you want to wear a helmet, you shouldn't have money as the obstacle to wear one. Now, I understand a lot of people don't want to wear helmets. I am the big helmet bully. I want people to wear helmets. I think it's important that we have more rollerbladers out there, and the more people fall and hit their heads while rollerblading without helmets, the less rollerbladers we're going to have. So let's keep our numbers strong. Let's all wear helmets when we're out there skating. It is the stupidest thing if you fall down and you don't wear a helmet and you just hit your head and it's like, oh, what am I doing? Why didn't I wear a helmet? So if you're interested in supporting this endeavor, in order to send the helmets out, we do, spend some money. We spend some money on shipping. We also spend money outside of the US to get helmets to people. We do have a Patreon. Patreon doesn't do a lot. We do have our podcast. Whenever we post it early to the Patreon supporters. It is at patreon.com/backtoblading. If you have a few bucks a month, we would love to get your donation so that we can put it towards our helmet program. Working with the Helmet Initiative to get helmets out to people, we do as much as we can to get helmets on people's heads. Patreon.com/backtoblading for more information about the Patreon and some of the freebies that we give out for people who are supporters. And then helmetinitiative.org for more information about the Helmet Initiative. Really great organization that does a lot to help people get helmets. They replace people's old helmets. They make sure that people who need helmets have helmets. So absolutely couldn't do this without their support, and couldn't do it without the support of our fans over on patreon.com. All right. Always hate starting the show with a downer, and it sucks, but it's just so important. And I know a lot of people are like, oh, he's still talking about helmets. It's a super important thing. And this, it sucks. Like, I got this thing on the Facebook, and the wife posts and says, her husband fell and hit his head, and now he's on life support. And it's like, I put myself in that perspective as a father of two, and I'm like, I go skating once a week, and I'm a pretty good skater. And that doesn't mean anything. Like, I could definitely misjudge my speed. I could have an equipment malfunction. I could have anything happen, and I can run into something and I can hit my head. Richard Taylor, rest in peace. Amazing rollerblader in the UK back in the 90s and 2000s. Similar thing. He was skating down a street and he hit his head on a light post, I think, and dead. It's horrible. And I don't want to lose anybody. So I do get a little sappy about it, but it does hit home. I've had many friends have serious injuries due to head trauma, and I don't want that to happen to people. So if you're on the fence, just wear your helmet, see what it feels like. It does feel a little awkward, I'm not going to lie, but you get used to it after a few months of skating with it, And, you know, it could save your life. It's really important. Anyway, on to brighter, happier subjects. Right now we're going to talk about my current skates. And I am so thrilled that I have two skates that I've been skating, two new skates that I've been skating even. So first of all, I mentioned these last week, 2 weeks ago, last episode, whenever that was. But I was actually able to get out and skate. Big wheels on the trail. If you follow my Instagram, you probably saw a few clips out there. I have been skating the FR1s. Where the heck are they? Oh, there they are. So, these are the FR1s. These are the skates that I showed off last week. I think they are a plastic shell boot. They are a free skate. So what that means is it's kind of a different discipline. Really, it's just based around skating however you want. You can do tricks on it. You can do speed skating. You can do distance skating. You could do slalom. It's really just a catch-all for any sort of skating. It is not designed for grinds. So this isn't a grinding skate. This doesn't have a sole plate. This frame, none of the frames that come with this skate are designed for skating rails or ledges or transitions or anything like that. But it is a great shell for all-around skating. So this is the FR1. It is light. It has a 45-degree ratchet buckle. It has a regular plastic buckle up top. It is a 165 mount. What that means is the distance between 0.1 and 0.2, where the frame mount is 165 millimeters. That is a fairly standard distance for most recreational skates. Recreational, free skates, whatever you want to call it, raised heel boots. So in this case, you can see the heel. If you draw a line, actually I have my ruler tonight. I'm kind of prepared tonight, believe it or not. Doesn't always happen. But if you have a ruler, you can see, I'll put it flat on the toe. You can see the heel is a little bit taller. And if I put it on the heel, whoop, you can see the toe is a little bit taller. That is a raised heel boot. Very different than a flat heel boot, which is what normally a aggressive skate would be like. That's so that the UFS frame, which mounts directly on the boot, completely flat, 167 millimeters from 1 to 2. That's an aggressive setup. So this is more of a free skate setup. It's about 10 mil difference between the back and the front. 10 to 12 mil. It really depends on the skate. But in this case, I think it's a 10 mil. It's a really great height. These are 125 millimeter wheels. So this frame is 260 from 1 to 3. It is a tri-skate, which means it is 3 wheels instead of 4 wheels. It's a little bit different. The reason why they do that is so that they could fit really big wheels in here. A big wheel will have more energy to store, so you can skate further. You get more coast with stored energy, but it's a lot harder to get to top speed. So I was skating around some hills, and I tell you what, trying to get up hills in a 125 is a tough job. Felt like I was just walking up the hill. And if I were skating aggressive, absolutely no problem. If I were skating flat 80s, absolutely no problems. But this 125, it really felt like I was just walking. I was not moving at all. However, going down the hill, I had a hard time stopping because I was going so fast. Really bit of a trade-off between the two. I do like the 125s for what I was doing, which was really just cruising around the neighborhood. Personally, though, I think ideally I would get a 110 millimeter wheel. 110 is going to be a little bit smaller, a little bit shorter wheelbase. Maybe, I'm sorry, not wheelbase, but total length. I don't know what this is called. So length of the wheels. Wheelbase usually refers to axle 1 to axle whatever the last one is, 3 or 4. And that's your wheelbase. So the base where the wheels are actually touching. So in this case, 270 millimeters from here to here. And that's the wheelbase. That doesn't necessarily mean the length of the wheels are 270 millimeters, though. Sorry, 260 millimeters. Because we've got a 125 millimeter wheel. So what is that? 125, so that's 62.5 on this end, 62.5 on this end, plus 260. I can't math at night, but something like 385. Does that sound right? So 385 from this to this. That's a pretty long base, and I did find myself clipping my toes a few times when doing crossovers. If you look at this, you can see how far out the wheel goes from the toe of the boot. Now, I'm used to aggressive skates. So these Seba, which is the aggressive brand that is kind of owned by the same company, made by the same factory, made by the same people. You could see these are 59 millimeter, 59.1. 59 millimeter wheels, and you could see that they just barely extend past the toe. A little bit bigger would be fine if you went with 80s. This is a 4x80 frame. You can see that the toe sticks out just a little bit. It's not too much. You never clip your toes here. But if you compare it to this, that's a lot. And I am a hockey player. I grew up playing hockey, mostly ice hockey, but I started rollerblading because I wanted to cross-train for hockey, so I was doing a lot of roller hockey. So doing fast, tight crossovers is a thing that just comes natural for me, and I have to second guess myself when I'm doing crossovers with these skates. The total length of this frame is just way too long for me, so I am going to start looking for, I think a 260 is a really good wheelbase, but I want to get something that's 260 and 110 mil. Again, it's only going to cut down, what, 15 mil, but it might be enough. We'll see. This just feels a little bit long and gangly. The stock liners. So I'm not going to do a full review on these skates, but I will say a few things that I discovered when I was skating them. The stock liners are pretty rough. So these are the stock liners. Oh, the liners that come with them. These are the liners that came with my FR1s. And I gotta say, they're just like, I don't even know what's going on here. There's just a lot of padding in a lot of places, and it doesn't feel like, it just feels like a weird like mosh of all the different ankle areas. Like, it's hard to see because of the shadow, but there's like an ankle area on here, and then this padding area comes really big and pops out. Like you can kind of see my, oh, you can see it better that way. You can see all of the padding in there. I am not a fan of this liner. It just felt weird. It felt like it was just uncomfortable, maybe a little tight. I am blessed by having purchased the UFRs, which is another FR skate. They're aggressive skate, and I was very fortunate to get the Intuition version. So these are the Intuition liners that came with the UFR. Absolutely love this liner, and this liner feels amazing in this boot. It is the right length. I can feel my toes at the end. It is a great width up top. It feels really good on my foot. I did still get a little bit of wiggle, lateral wiggle. Like I felt like this boot was a little bit wide. You can kind of hear it moving around a little bit on the inside. Additionally, when I was trying to lace it down, because the top is so open with this lacing, and this boot is so stiff, like there's no flex at all. I had a hard time getting it sucking my foot in. This crank, this 45-degree ratchet buckle, I actually got it as tight as it would humanly get, and I couldn't get it any tighter, and I could still feel my foot lifting up in there. I almost need to get some puffy tongues and put them in there just to add a little bit of volume inside of my lacing area so that I can lace it down and have a little bit of padding that pulls my foot in. Because yeah, I couldn't get them tight enough. It felt really weird. Like, you know, I was getting heel lift. I was getting a little bit of slop in my toe area. Was not a good ride. But it was a huge improvement over the stock liners. So I will skate these again. I got a few different wheels. It's hard to find 125s, but I do have these undercover wheels. I'm going to give these a try. These feel a little bit harder. They are 85, but they're probably not. They're probably a little harder than 85. These, I think, are 86, but I would imagine that they're going to feel a little bit better than these. Not really sure. These look like, not really familiar with this core. I don't know who makes this core, but I've seen it before. It might be Bravo. Really, really fast wheels, but they just don't feel good. They feel just hard. They feel like, I don't know, I feel like I'm not getting much grip or much bounce to them. It's just like utility, you know? Maybe it's just a really good stock wheel. I feel like these are going to be pretty good. These came from a pair of swells. My friend Mark sent them to me to try them out. They're used, but they're very, barely used. I think they were rotated really nicely. So I'm going to swap these out next session. I'm going to use my intuitions again, try to dial in the skate. I did check. So my theory was, and I chatted on the Slack about this as a potential issue, why my foot was moving around so much inside the shell. And the theory was that the way that FR does it, if you buy the FR Intuitions, they give you a slightly different shell than if you buy the stock liners. So the stock liners, these are the Intuitions. You can see the inside of the Intuition. This is a very thin liner versus the stock liner, which is very voluminous. You can see the difference. So say you're adding another 5 to 10 millimeters of width with this liner because of all of the padding. What they'll do is they'll give you a shell that is 5 to 10 millimeters bigger on the inside, which means that you'll have a little bit more room with that puffier liner so that your foot will be a little bit more comfortable versus the more responsive, thinner liner that you get with the Intuition. The catch is, I checked, and although I did get the UFRs with the Intuitions, they were the same 10 shell that the FR ones were. So I don't think there's any difference between the two shells. I think the shells are the same, regardless of which liner I got. Do I need to downsize? I might need to downsize. I don't know. Otherwise, maybe the skate just isn't for me. But it was an interesting experiment. I am going to skate these again. I'm going to try the different wheels. I found a few nice little trails. I have the Tobacco Trail near me, but I've also found a nice little area that they've built out since I've been skating in my neighborhood last, which was probably 3-4 years ago, that they've built out this area that now connects to another section of the trail. So I'm going to take a nice long ride some evening after dinner and go and skate now that it's staying a little brighter later, and go out there and skate and see what they feel like. But I enjoy it. Not my favorite skate, but they work. I'm still in search for that favorite big wheel skate. I've tried these. I've tried the Powerslide Next. I've tried the Powerslide Imperial. If there is another big wheel skate that I should try, let me know in the comments. Let me know in the chat. I would love to try something else. I haven't tried anything rollerblade, so I might try something rollerblade. That might be a good one to test. But I would love to get a really good recreational free skate. This just ain't it. It's too stiff for me. The lacing is too wide for me. I will make it work, but it is not the best skate for me. Might be the best skate for you. Came highly rated. A lot of people love them. Just isn't the best skate for me. A little too stiff. Anyway, that's not all. So not only have I been skating the big wheels, but I've also been skating aggressive. And there's a little bit of a story here, and I don't want to, this isn't a full introduction. This isn't an announcement or anything like that. We will do a full announcement when I'm holding the actual skates for the release. But I trust you all to be friendly about this and to take what I share as a work in progress. I love to test product in public, and I love to keep you up to speed on everything that I'm working on. And I was very fortunate through some random luck, not luck, maybe misfortune, but I'm very fortunate to be able to be skating my skate, the first sample of the standard skate. So I'm not going to get into details on this, but you've seen enough from Brandon. You know what they look like. These are the standards. These are what I've been skating. Show you a few angles you've already seen, and then I will put them away because I don't want to get into it. This is not the full announcement, but I do want to talk a little bit about what my experience has been like and how I got to skate these skates. So we have been working on a skate for about 3 years. And I've been doing the video reviews of every skate on the wall, and I think I know what makes a really good skate. And I wanted to find that perfect skate. I've been on the hunt for a perfect skate. And I found a few skates that kind of fit almost every check, but I was like, I've got to make the skate that's perfect for me. And I ended up making the skate that's perfect for me. It has all of the features, all of the functionalities, all of the little things that were little issues that I found with other skates, fixed as much of that as I could, and we started testing. And one of the things that we were trying to do with this skate project is we were trying to work with our developers. So we have a team over in China where the factory is that makes the skates. We send them drawings and they turn them into 3D renders, and then they send them over to us so that we can review them. And we've been working with them on getting this shape and this design dialed in so that it looks great and so that it's functional for what we want, and then it fits our feet perfectly. And we've been working through a process that uses 3D printing to rapidly prototype these shells. So whenever they started work on a size 42, which was the first sample size, they would make tweaks to it, they would send us the files, and we would print them locally. And then we would try them on, and we would have people try them, and they would adjust the fit, and they would adjust the areas and stuff. And then eventually we got to a point where we were very happy with the size, and we were like, all right, go for it. We're ready to skate them. Send them a ton of money. They start a mold for the shell, for the cuff, for the sole plate, for the frame, for the Antirocker wheels, for the hardware, for a lot of things. We've spent a lot of money already, believe it or not. We haven't sold anything. This is how skate projects can get really expensive really fast. So we sent them a ton of money to get things started. And they built these molds, and they are amazing. And we had them on display at Blading Cup, and then I sent them out to our testers who were trying the size 42, and it didn't fit. It didn't fit. It was the worst conversation that I've had, and it was a huge shock. And it turns out that the translation that the files that they were using at the factory, the tweaks that we were making were being made, but when they would send them over to me and we would translate and export those files to a version that was friendly with our printers, it was stretching the shell by about a centimeter. What that means is all of the tweaks that we made for toe box, for the lacing area, for the cuff being wide, for the heel being wide, all of the things that, are common concerns with skates, those were all reflected in the new models. But the length was off by like a centimeter. So the internal that was supposed to be 280, 282 ended up being 292, 295, which, that's way too big for a size 42. So I sent it over to our tester, who is a size 42, up and down, size 9, size 42, 27.5, and it didn't fit his foot. And I was like, well, what do I do? And that was a sleepless night, I tell you what, because I sent an email to the factory and I say, hey, we have a problem. What we were printing here does not match what you sent here. What do we do? And it was wait. So I didn't sleep very well that night. I didn't sleep very well the night before, the night after. It came to my realization that the sizing that they sent was actually, funny enough, a size 44. So we were working on the idea that it would be a 42, but because the translation from their files to the printer-ready files added some length to the shells, they, funny enough, happened to fit a size 42 foot really nicely, or a size 44 foot really nicely. So I am a 44, 28.5 centimeters, and using the liners that they sent, the sample liners were a size 42. And that is why they felt really tight when people would try them on who were a size 44, like me or like Brandon Drummond. That liner is not the final liner for the size 44. That is the final liner for the size 42. And it fits the 42 foot perfectly. But the shell is a 44. So this is why skate projects take forever, because there are so many things that can go wrong. Now, obviously, there were things that we learned from this mistake that we are now doing in the future, they are now sending us prints. So instead of printing locally, they are sending us prints. We just got them today, actually. So I have the size 40, the 42, and the 46 in hand. They came a few hours before I started the show, and I will be sending them out to the testers tomorrow. What does that mean? Means that we don't know where these are going to end up. They might be too tight. They might be perfect. They might be too large. Who knows? But we need to have a new baseline of this is what, because the file translation isn't working. This is what they can say is going to be 1-to-1. And I've tested, they sent a 44, the actual final print as well. And I tested those with the actual shelves. And I know that the prints that they're sending are exact to the molds. So as long as we use them as our source of truth, we should have no problems in the future. But what that means is we might have lost a little bit of time. It sucks. Skates take a long time. The factory is aware of the issues and they're working super fast to get us up to speed. I don't know what that means for production, but we're doing everything that we can to keep on this summer pace. Might be a little later, but they are here to help us and they're going to speed through everything that they can. Thankfully, the frames are ready. The liners, we've already figured out all of that stuff. The shock absorbers, those molds are in production. So we're in really good shape otherwise. We just got to dial in these boots to make sure that they fit perfectly. So long story short, I've been able to skate the size 44 and it feels really good. It was just, stupid luck that they happened to make a shell that fit my foot perfectly. Now I've been skating it with the RL1. That is the Rossi's liner. It is a thinner liner. It will be about the same as our liner. It'll be a little bit thicker in the heel, in the cuff area. That's what I like, a little bit more padding up there. I am feeling, the RL1 is pretty thin, and I'm feeling a little bit of thinness in my heels around the little ball area of my ankles. That's just a thing that I deal with on most liners. I dealt with it with the 909s, using those liners as well. I do hope that our liners feel better. We should have the samples of the 44 so that I can test them in the shells as well. But I was able to skate my skate, and it was an amazing feeling. I posted a few clips. I think I posted a story when I was out at we found a new mountain skate park. This one's in Boone, North Carolina, which is about an hour from the cabin that we own up in West Jefferson area. So it's about an hour away. Beautiful skate park. It's got a nice little coping area. It's got a little box in the middle, a little launch pad for airs. Perfect for me. I'm going to be going up there this weekend skating again, I hope. But I was able to skate them and I was able to make them work. And it was an amazing feeling getting out there skating my skates, the skates that I designed, with help, of course, but the skates that fit the vision of what I want from a skate. And I've skated them a few other times. So I've been to Durham skating them, and I had a few friends who are also size 44 feet. I had them try them on, and they tested them, and they said, yes, they skate good. They skated around the skate park. They did some grinds. They were able to skate. Absolutely no issues. I've skated them at Marsh. So I went over to Marsh. It was raining, unfortunately, but I put a few clips up on the Instagram. They feel great. I am super, super happy with this. I cannot wait to share. Next steps for me, obviously, we've got to figure out the sizing issue with the 40, 42, and the 46. But after that is done, it's just going to take some time. After that is done, we will start production. We might actually start production before that's done because they can start the frames. They can start the wheels. They can start all the hardware. They can do the liners. They're not changing the cuffs. The cuffs are done. The sole plates are probably done. Actually, the sole plates might tweak, especially if we make them a little bit longer in the shell. They might have to tweak the sole plates. But hopefully, I will have some updates for you in a couple of weeks on how this fit test went and if we can get started on the next molds. Minor setback, maybe put us a month behind, but I'm glad that we caught it before we got out of control and we had more molds open. I'm glad that somehow Blade God was shining down on us and it made the mistake into an actual amazing skate. Cannot wait for you all to try it. I don't know what the timing's going to be like, but I will share here as quickly as I can. I hope to have an updated 44 in the next couple of weeks. So we made some tweaks based on this test. I'm really good at testing skates. I might not be the greatest skater, but I know what I like in a skate. And I know what needs to be tweaked in order for a skate to be better. And we made a few tweaks to the skate to make them a little bit better. A little bit of polish here and there, a little bit of tweaks to the sole plate. And I think it's going to be amazing after this next test. So hopefully we'll have those in 2 weeks and I'll be out there skating. Obviously, I'll post some clips to the Instagram. Nothing too detailed on the YouTube yet. The next big YouTube video that I post will be the first skate, actual official skate on the skates, and then we'll start announcing pre-orders and production and schedules and stuff like that. So appreciate your patience, and I apologize that it took so long. This is a really crazy project. I will say that because we spent the time tweaking the height, tweaking the toe box, tweaking the lacing area, this is going to go much faster. Now all we have to worry about is the length. And the length should be pretty easy. Our testers will put their feet in there and say, yes, it fits, or no, I need 2 mil, 4 mil, something to that effect. Shouldn't take long at all. And the factory is ready. They can do prints within 2 days, send them over to us, and we get them within 2 days. So they should be able to run really quickly. It just sucks that we lost all that time. Maybe not lost all that time, but it's taking longer than it should. And I feel like next time we'll be prepared. We won't trust the file conversion as we should. But trying to do things, technically, and I don't know. I don't know how they did it back in the days, but this made sense to me. Unfortunately, it didn't quite work out the way that I had hoped, but you learn. Anyway, skates are great. I'm looking forward to sharing them. Maybe give me another month. I'll be posting some clips to Instagram, but yeah, maybe give me another month and then we'll have the official reveal. But if you have been waiting, thank you so much. And even if you're not interested in new skates, appreciate the support and watching all of the videos to help me get to a point where I know what makes my perfect skate, and I'm really hoping that I can build it for you. All right, that is a mouthful. I'm going to get some water and take some questions. If you have any questions, I would love to answer your questions. Make sure that you tag Back to Blading if you're watching live. Tag Back to Blading in your question. I will scroll to the top, and I will start from the top and work my way down. If you are watching this and you're not watching live, just leave a comment. Make sure that you put as much information as you can. It's hard for me to reach out to you and contact you, so I will respond to your question, but I might not be able to actually contact you. Make sure that you check the video for responses or check your notifications in YouTube for a response because I can't really message you or anything like that. But hope that I can answer your questions. Love answering questions. I'm going to get some water and then get started. All right, let us scroll to the top. All right, first question. Wyco Booter, since tonight is about anti-rockers, what was your favorite anti-rocker wheel of all time? It's a funny question. So I am not a big fan of anti-rocker wheels. I think that there are a lot of weird designs out there, and I don't think that people really understand what makes a good anti-rocker wheel, so it's hard for me to say. I was not a huge fan of the Higgs boson. I did skate them for a while, but I didn't know what I was doing, and I don't know that it really made a difference. I would think that my favorite anti-rocker wheel was probably the Dave Kolash Blueberries, the Senate Blueberries. And the reason for that is it was just so ridiculous. They had anti-rocker wheels that smelled like blueberries. And we actually made a couple anti-rocker wheels with chroma. So we made a raspberry anti-rocker wheel that smelled like raspberries. That was amazing. And then we made an orange anti-rocker wheel that kind of smelled like oranges. The problem is that the orange oils that we put in, orange oils is also a cleaning oil, so it made the anti-rocker wheels not super stable. And we had a few breakages. I'm not a chemist. I just like to make cool stuff. And you couldn't really smell the orange on top of that. But yeah, I would say the blue Dave Kolash wheels, they were just so cool. I think it was awesome. I do like the Roadhouse wheels, the original Roadhouse wheels, and even the Dead tributes. I love that they were in this Crayola packaging and they just looked awesome. It was a different time back then. I appreciate that. Good question. Ben Vanderhagen, blah, what is that shirt? Good question, Ben. So this is a brand called Let Us Skate. It is based in North Carolina. They came out to the Crowder Cup, and I met them at the Crowder Cup. I think they are at Let Us Skate on Instagram, LUS underscore. If you just type in LUS underscore, you'll probably find them. They are a local clothing company, and they just make t-shirts. I think they also make lacing things. So at the bottom of your, do I have any skates with that? Yeah, like these USDs. They have the little lace, I don't know what these are called, lace tabs maybe. But they make these little lace tabs as well. Really cool. I love supporting small companies. I think it's important that any industry to thrive, we can't just have the big rollerblade, power slide, K2 monolith corporations. We need to have the little small guys. We need to have, Red Eye and Moonshine and Create Originals and 50/50 and like the brands that are like by skaters for skaters, that style. There needs to be that sort of thing, and I love supporting shops and small companies like that. I don't know if you can get these shirts. I don't know if they made a lot of them, but go over to their Instagram, give them a follow, give them a message, say that you heard about them from me and that I support. But yeah, they came out. They said, "Hey, do you want a shirt?" And I said, "Absolutely." And then they gave me a sticker, and I put a sticker on the ramp. So Let Us Skate. That's what it is. Good guys. Definitely support. Lander sent me $1 super chat. Thank you so much. That all of our super chats go to the Helmet Initiative, so we use all of the money that we make on our YouTube channel to help get people helmets. It's the thing that I'm passionate about. So anything that you can donate, always appreciated. It will go to a good place. Thank you so much, Lander, for all the support. And thanks for showing up. You've been here a lot. I really appreciate it. Thanks for being by. Terra Rise, 2 a.m. here in Portugal. Thank you for staying up to watch. I hope that you are enjoying the show. Yeah, it's late. I'm sorry. I wish it wasn't so late, but I appreciate you. I love that you're able to stick around. I hope I'm not making you fall asleep. I'll try to keep you up. Riger tried 3D printed antis. I've never skated 3D printed antis, but we have 3D printed Antirocker wheels. So I've done a lot of 3D prints in my past. I do 3D prints now for the core system stuff. The issue that I always ran into with the style of 3D printing that I do is that they tend to wear down really fast, and that is with an Antirocker wheel. I don't know that there are other forms of 3D printing, so it's not just the same thing that we do. We do what's it? I can't think of the name, but we use filament, and it's these. We use PLA Max and PLA Plus, and it's just a filament that gets printed layer by layer. There are other ways that you can do it. You can use resins. You can use SLS, which is like a laser sort of selective printing thing. There are lots of ways that you can print, and each of those has a different attribute. There's probably the perfect attribute for Antirocker wheels. I haven't found it yet, and I'm not super interested in making Antirocker wheels with a 3D printer. I think there are a few that have tried. I don't know that they hold up super well, though. Could be wrong. Again, I haven't tested them. I think it really just depends on the materials that you use, but it is something that is possible. So I encourage people to go out there and test. An Antirocker wheel is a really easy design to sculpt in whatever 3D software you might have. Definitely worth trying and see if you can skate them. See how they feel and see how they hold up. I'd be really curious to hear. Lander, what are your opinions on height of boot liners difference between aggressive and urban boot liner height? It's a great question. I love a lower cut boot liner. The intuitions that I have, the FR intuitions, are pretty high. And I feel like it's just a distraction. So when I'm skating, I always feel like the side of my ankle gets rubbed, and it feels like it's the wrong, like there's this sweet spot for wherever it rubs on my ankle, that it's not too low that it's going to go underneath the cuff of the boot and create like a pivot point that's going to be like really hard. But if it's too high, it just feels like it's, I don't know, it's distracting. So there is a balance between the two. I would say maybe a centimeter above the cuff is probably the sweet spot. Maybe a little bit taller than a centimeter. Really just depends on your style. But for me personally, yeah, about a centimeter, maybe a little bit more than a centimeter above the cuff, I think is my sweet spot. And another super chat from Lander. Thank you so much, Lander. Appreciate you the best. Carlos Diamante, how was the process of choosing the plastic for the standard boots? Just wondering if you had many options to choose from. Excellent question that I haven't actually addressed. I did just talk about skating the standard boots. The plastic that we have now is too stiff. And I've noticed that by doing topside tricks. And I'm pretty bad at doing topside tricks, but on some skates, I could do topside tricks. And I want a skate that is easy for me to do topside tricks. I might be selfish here. But I feel like if a skate is easy for me to do topside tricks, that means that more people can do topside tricks on these skates. And that typically means that a skate that's going to be a little bit more flexible. I'm not a big fan of a stiff skate for aggressive. I think it works really well for fitness or for recreational, but for aggressive, I like a squishy skate. That's why I love the adapts. And I will say that the adapts are fairly stiff in the cuff area, but the area around your lacing just feels so good. It's just a nice squishy area. Looking back at the old skates that I've tested, the skates that I was able to do topsides the best on were Majestic 12s and Sways and Shadows. And those are all fairly flexible skates. I think if we could make a skate that was as flexible as one of those, I think we would be in really good shape. Maybe a little bit stiffer than the Majestic 12. I feel like that's a little bit too flexy, but a little stiffer, but not too stiff, I think is the sweet spot. I've given this feedback to the factory, and they are sending the new adjusted mold prints, mold samples to me in a couple of weeks with brand new materials to test. So looking forward to that, and I'll be able to test between the two and see which one I prefer, but I'm definitely leaning more towards a squish. They are the materials experts. They know what works best. And I know what makes a good skate, but I don't know which materials. I'm not a chemist. I'm not a plastic expert. I trust their judgment. So when I say that it needs to be a little bit more flexy, I trust that they know what that means and that they'll be able to do it. And so far, they've done really good, especially with frame development and liner development. They've hit it out of the park. I mean, everything that we've asked for has been perfect. So I don't see why it will be any different with the boot. But I will report back. I should have them in a couple of weeks, and then I'll skate them as soon as I can. Scrolling. Wyco Booter, if you put in an insole beneath the liners, that will help lift your foot to tighten up the fit. That is actually a really good question. I'm assuming that you're talking about the FR1s. That is a really good idea. I do have those Intuition footbeds. They came with my... what did they come with? I don't know what they came with. But they are a completely flat footbed. So it's just like a 2mm, 4mm lift. If I put that in the shell, I think that will make a big difference. I will give that a shot next session. They do have a squishy bottom, so the inside of this shell has a little bit of a squish to it. So there is something in there, but a little bit more might help. It's a really good idea. Thank you. Lander, the Zoom 80 is the best big wheel skate. I like the Zoom 80s because I like the sways. And I really liked the Zoom 80s, especially with the ratchet buckle. It worked really well for my feet. So yeah, I think that's a really good option actually. Especially with the Trinity adapter. Way to go. Chris Pauley, hey Chris, you should get the RB80. It's the bang for the buck best rec skate, more forgiving shape than the Twister. That has been on my list for a while, so I will definitely look into it. The RB80, yeah, I'll see what I can do. Definitely like that. True 27 Skeet, you look very comfortable and confident riding in your skates. Looks to me like you found what you're looking for. That's what Bono would say. I mean, he would say that I still haven't found what I'm looking for, but I'm going to continue looking. yeah, I love these skates. I love these skates. They fit me like a glove. It's so funny that we screwed up the sizing and they fit perfectly. You know, our size 42 tester is pretty upset that they don't get to skate them, but I'm pretty happy that I get to. I do think the materials are going to make all the difference. You know, I think topside tricks are really difficult in them for me. Granted, I don't do a ton of topside tricks. I was able to do them here at the warehouse on coping and my box, but I wasn't able to do them on street. And I want to be able to do them on ledges. That is my real test. So if I could do them there, then I know that the skates are good. But yeah, definitely they feel great. They're very light. I haven't mentioned anything about that, but they're really light. You know, it's minimal plastic because it is a flat sole, because the sole plate has been optimized. I think it's going to be a really light skate. I think you're going to really love them. So cannot wait, cannot wait. Chris Pauley, Back to Bleeding is handling this better than I would. Yeah, I definitely, I had some rough nights. I mean, you got to assume there is a lot of money in this. You know, I've been working really hard to save up for this project for the last few years, and I mean, to see before I was able to put my foot in them, to hear that they were wrong was just like gut punch. But yes, definitely, I'm over the hurdle now, and I'm feeling really good about it. Scrolling. All the war, Lander, all the odds are working towards you. Yes, I'm very fortunate. I don't know. Again, Blade God, all praise Blade God, looking down on me. Somebody wants me to succeed at this project. Somebody wanted me to get the first skates. That's the thing, I bet. Oh, no, sample size 42. No, you want a 44. We'll just make it a 44. Yeah, I'm very, very lucky. Right, what time is it? 9:57. Okay, a couple more questions. Gwen Payne, what skates did you use for a reference with what you created? Oh, there's a ton. So I've skated every skate on this wall, probably 24 pair of skates, and I took inspiration from every skate that I liked. You know, every skate out there, with very few exceptions, has something that's really notable that I felt does a really great job adding to the skate. You know, whether it's a riveted cuff, whether it's a flat sole with an internal shock absorber, whether it's, a flexible boot, whether it's a really nice wide sole plate. There are a few things that just look amazing on skates that I wanted to also capture. So we used a lot of different skates to come up with our design and our aesthetic. And we'll get into it in the future. We're actually going to put a video together that breaks down all of the different inspirations when we have an actual skate that I can share in high quality video and stuff like that. But it's amazing to finally see, and I'll add that it was amazing to find a factory that could work with me, that knew their stuff. They've made skates for years, so they know the sizing, they know how things should work. And they were very good about following direction, but still pushing back when I made mistakes and saying, well, actually, most skates are like this. And I said, okay, we'll compromise and we'll figure it out. There's a lot of inspiration in this skate. I'm very fortunate to have studied a lot of skates for the last 20 so years, but 5 years extensively to learn everything that I love about skates and try to get everything that I can into our skates. Great question. Terrorize, almost 3 a.m. now. I will hurry up. I will speak faster. I'm sorry. Eddie Effany, hey, Lawrence, what are your thoughts for getting Torx screws as common standard hardware? Understand cost is key. This comes up every now and then. I do think that Torx is really nice, but everybody has an Allen key. Everybody has a 4mm hex key. And I would hate for somebody to lose a cuff bolt, for example, and not have a tool that would put it back on. I will say that standard is going to come with standard hex 4mm M6 bolts. That is the standard, and I don't want to change the style of bolts for the skate. I want the skate to be fairly easy for most people to get into, and they probably have a 4mm hex key from IKEA furniture or any take-home furniture already. So if they lose their key, I don't want to have a special key that they should use for this. Now, I know that T25 is fairly common. More people are having it out there, but you can't really beat 4mm. That is, the flat, what everybody has. So I do think Torx has its benefits, especially on smaller sizes. I do question how important it is when you get bigger with like axles or cuff bolts, whether a T25 is worth it. But if you get down to a T20 or a T15 versus an M4 bolt, which is the really small bolts, I do think there is a lot of benefit to that. So highly recommend. Fruit Tech is a really good brand that makes hardware aftermarket that you can swap out for your sole plates. Definitely worth swapping out with Hex or with T25 Hex or Torx, can't speak. T25 or T15 Torx if you're dealing with sole plates. Anything else, I think hex keys are just fine. All right, I will stop there. There are a few more questions, but I am going to stop at Pat Wolfman's question. Yes, I will stop there and I will speak about it after. But first, let's talk about Antirocker Wheels and get a little water. So, Antirocker Wheels. We've actually done this show in the past, a couple years back, and I don't have a ton to add, but I always like a refresher, and it seems like every beginning of summer, I think there's always some debate about Antirocker Wheels, and this year was no exception. Kaiser came out with those new grind wheels that are heavily inspired by the Higgs boson. They're available in 4 sizes, I think, 44, 46, 48, is that right? I think that's right. Or is it the odd numbers, 45, 47, 49? I don't really know. But they have 3 different sizes of Antirocker wheels. I think they are not bearing accepting. I think they are just 8mm in the middle. It's weird that they have 3 sizes of those wheels. I don't know what problem they're trying to solve that they couldn't have solved with 1 size, maybe even 2 sizes. But, I mean, it's amazing to see that there's new Antirocker wheels coming out. Antirocker wheels are one of those things that people just kind of take for granted. But I will argue that Antirocker wheels make a huge difference to your session. If you are an Antirocker skater, you probably are skating the same Antirocker wheels that came on your skates. Or you bought some Antirocker wheels back in the day and you've kept the Antirocker wheels that you had, and they just go from skate to skate to skate, from frame to frame to frame. They never wear down, so why would you get new ones? And that is absolutely true. Antirocker wheels are Antirocker wheels. They're utilitarian. If they aren't broken, don't fix them, right? If they match and if you don't mind the colorway, then, stick with the old Antirocker wheels. But I will say, there are better Antirocker wheels out there. I don't know what Antirocker wheels you have, but there are different Antirocker wheels out there. And the style of Antirocker wheel that you use can vary based on what you skate and what frames you're on. Antirocker wheels, initially were old skateboard wheels that they cut down so that they could fit on inlines. After that, they used, hubs of wheels, worn down wheels. Senate came out with what I think is the first legit Antirocker wheel. There was the Little Rocks from Kryptonics. I want to say those were 57mm and 95A. Is that right? That sounds right. So big, but that was back in the days. They were skating these frames. So this is a Rollerblade TRS. This was the original aggressive skate. This is what people would skate back in the days when they were skating aggressive. And this is what most of the tricks and most of the style of skating was developed around. And you can see the frame comes so low. This is a 70mm wheel, so it comes so low that any Antirocker wheel will fit. If you had a 56mm wheel, 57mm wheel in there, this is a 70mm wheel. So a 56 absolutely wouldn't be a problem. Now, a 44, right? I think these are 47 maybe. They would be non-existent. It wouldn't even show up. Can you see? Yeah, it wouldn't even show up. It's hard to show. I'll put it over the axle. So it's like there isn't even a wheel. Kind of tells you that depending on the frame, the size of the anti-rocker wheel will matter. And back in those days, bigger anti-rocker wheels were probably better because the frames were so tall. But we've evolved. We moved through the frame design. We started getting grooves. We started having like the Majestic 12 that had an actual groove in the frame. There were grind plates that were added on things like the K2 Fatty that came with grind plates, and anti-rocker wheel size changed. Good example, this is the old Fitty Fitty frame. So this is the pre-UFS frames. This is what came on the USD Thrones. It also came on the Remedies back in the days. But you can see the size of this groove, so small, right? This was a really popular frame, and this is while we were trying to figure everything out. What would make a good frame? Why is the groove important? What sort of chamfer does a groove need? And this was when we all started really experimenting with things. And I'll add that the size of the groove dictates a lot of what the anti-rocker wheel's purpose is. A lot of anti-rocker wheels never touch the ground. So if you were skating this and you had a 47 millimeter anti-rocker wheel, same thing that you were doing with the big TRS, it barely sticks out because this groove is so tight. When you're grinding, you're never really going to touch this anti-rocker wheel. I actually have an illustration for that. So if you look at a rail, I'll use a balance frame because a balance frame has a fairly wide groove compared to the old one, but it's still fairly tight compared to most frames that are out there right now. So this is a Balance 2, has a tighter groove and a deeper chamfer. You can see when you're skating rails, doesn't really matter at all, right? So the anti-rocker wheels don't come into play. You're on your frame, you're just grinding frame, doesn't matter at all. You're skating ledges, so I have a 2x4. This is not a ledge, but if you're skating ledges, you can see when you're grinding on a ledge, on your groove or straight on your H blocks, you can see that because this tight groove, the anti-rocker wheels never actually touch. So if you're just skating ledges, you're probably never going to touch the anti-rocker wheels. I have to go all the way up here before the anti-rocker wheels touch. Versus an anti-rocker frame. So this is a Fluid 4. This is a frame that was designed for anti-rocker. So it's a really deep groove, really wide groove. If you're skating a rail, huge groove, absolutely massive area that you can lock in. Don't have to worry about missing because you're just going to lock into the groove. But if you're skating on a ledge, you're going to hit the wheel pretty quickly. Because this groove is so deep and so wide that you can see I'm actually rolling on the wheel before I'm hitting the groove. This is where an anti-rocker wheel really comes into play. So if you have a deep groove like this, you're going to want to focus a little bit more on what an anti-rocker wheel can do for your setup. A lot of people in the last couple of weeks have talked about wheel bite on anti-rocker. I don't know that I've ever experienced wheel bite on anti-rocker, but looking at that illustration with this frame and these wheels, I could definitely see it happen. I could see if you aren't skating fast enough, if you don't get low enough, you don't push your front foot out enough, or if you don't get boot down enough on a Royale, you could definitely get wheel bite on one of this because it is just a hard wheel. It doesn't have anything special about it. It's not made out of a special plastic or anything like that. So I did want to talk a little bit about different anti-rocker wheels and different designs and what matters about an anti-rocker wheel. I do think that an anti-rocker frame like the Fluid 4 or like the Featherlight 3, those are really great frames for skating anti-rocker, and I don't take anything about that. I think it's a really great setup. If you know that you like anti-rocker, then definitely go all in on it, but make sure that you get the right anti-rocker wheels for it. And personally, I think these are the wrong anti-rocker wheels for this frame. I know that's crazy. I'll explain why I think that. But if you are skating a Fluid 4, there are better anti-rocker wheels that will make it a lot easier for you to skate, and you'll never get wheel bite with them. So talking a little bit about anti-rocker wheels, they kind of come in 4 different flavors, 3 to 4 different flavors. The first one is the standard urethane anti-rocker wheel. So this is the dead anti-rocker wheel. This is the one that I was showing before. This is a 47 millimeter. Let me measure it really quick. I keep saying 47, but I don't know. 45 millimeter. Oops, upside down. 45 millimeter. So 45 millimeter. This is made of the same style of material as a regular wheel. So this is a urethane anti-rocker wheel. You put bearings inside, you put a bearing spacer in there. They are extremely hard. So I should have gotten my little durometer tool, but I can see it, but I can't grab it. They're extremely hard. These are rated at 101A. The Shore A scale actually goes up to 100, so anything 101 is just off the scale. Doesn't mean that it's 101, 102, because there isn't 101, 102. Usually we use the D scale if we're doing anything higher than an A. So this being 101A, probably around 60D, 55D. I have a D durometer too, I should get that, but I don't have it in front of me. Hardness does matter. So the harder the wheel, the faster it's going to slip over ledges and planters and things like that, anything waxed. So you want a really hard wheel. That's why they just made them as hard as they can. And 101A, anything that's over 100 is probably going to be hard enough. They do include bearings. So they maybe don't include bearings, but they accept bearings. Why would you want a bearing? Well, the main reason is if you're skating over a set of stairs or an incline or something like that, as you go off, you're going to potentially hit the anti-rocker wheel. And you can see with these anti-rocker wheels, they actually roll. Having a little bit of roll, they're not supposed to be fast bearings, but a little bit of roll is nice. If you skate anti-rocker wheels that don't roll, and you go over an incline, you're dropping into a skate park or you're going down some stairs, and you hit anti-rocker wheels that don't roll, you will just stop. And you'll feel your foot just kind of whoosh, and it just slides across. It's not a good feeling. You could lose control. It's better to have an anti-rocker wheel that's going to spin a little bit. It doesn't have to spin a lot, but at least doesn't feel like it's just stuck. That's where the stock anti-rocker wheels that don't spin at all, those can be a little problematic in that situation, especially if you have a wide groove like one of these. So having a spinning anti-rocker wheel, definitely a really good way to go. So those are urethane anti-rocker wheels. And the benefits of urethane, they're a little bit more expensive maybe, but they're going to last forever. They don't wear down. They can be really hard. They usually come in a good angle. So, you know, these dead ones are a little better. They're a little bit more of an angle. I try to avoid square anti-rocker wheels for the same reason that you can't really do slides on square wheels. I like to have a more of an angled, more of a bullety profile, rounded profile to them. The reason is when you're doing slides, I'm using this 2x4 a lot tonight. When you're doing slides, you don't want, it's harder to slide when the wheel is completely straight up and down. And if a wheel, I don't have a wheel, I do have a wheel, I'll use this wheel. If you have this wheel, this is a fairly square wheel. If you're doing slides, this is not going to slide. Because this edge is so steep, it's very square. That little area is not going to slide. That's a really hard wheel to get to slide. But if you have more of a rounded profile, you're going to slide a little bit easier. The reason is more surface area, less of a break, and more of a glide. That's why when you see people skating bullet profile wheels for big wheels and they can do the slides, it's a little bit easier for them to do slides than it would be for somebody with a square profile aggressive wheel. I think the same goes to anti-rocker wheels. So I prefer an anti-rocker wheel that has more of an angle like this, like the dead anti-rocker wheels. So those are urethane anti-rocker wheels. They still make a bunch of them. There's a few of them out there. You can definitely find them. If you wanted to go with something that was a little bit more designed for ledges, might wear down a little bit faster, but it might grind a little bit faster. People make UHMW anti-rocker wheels. So it's a similar concept. These are the ones that we make at 50/50. Full disclosure, I do own 50/50. But this is the UHMW anti-rocker wheel that we make. There are a few companies out there that make these. I think initially the first person to make a UHMW wheel was CDS Detroit. They didn't have this design. They didn't have the angles. But they definitely had a UHMW, I think they called them grind rocks. Not sure what they called them. Grind rocks maybe? They didn't have a bearing accepting, it just had an axle that went through and it just really sat inside the frame. But again, the frames that they were using back then were not aggressive frames. They were recreational frames that people were using for aggressive. Come a long way. There's a few brands. Moonshine makes a really good one. Slicks makes a really good one. UHMW wheels are going to skate faster, grind faster than a urethane. This is designed for grinds. So this material specifically is a UHMW. There are other materials that are similar that people use, like Delrin. It is a hard material. It is a self-lubricating plastic. So if you ever see like how it's made and you see people making, I don't know, like shipping boxes, you know, at an Amazon fulfillment center or something like that, and you see the conveyor belts, all of that white plastic on the side of the conveyor belts, that's UHMW. So it's designed to be fast and slick for things to move across it. It's designed to hold up so it doesn't wear down super fast. Obviously, there's a big difference between a box on a conveyor belt and somebody grinding a gritty ledge that doesn't have enough wax and wasn't rub bricked. These are going to wear down faster than a urethane anti-rocker wheel. Urethane anti-rocker wheel probably will never wear down, which is why you're probably skating the ones that you were skating back when you were a kid. These are going to wear down, but very slowly. Not a problem in my eyes. I think that swapping out anti-rocker wheels is not a big thing if you want the best performance that you can get. And there's a lot of people out there that make them. You can definitely find them at all different colors and all different price points. The designs usually are very similar to this. They usually have a nice edge. Again, the edge is so that when you jump on a grind, I have them set up on these from Balance 2s. When you jump on a grind, on these frames, they're not really going to hit, but if you got down, you can see this wheel, it will slide on the ledge. That's what you want. You want it to slide. You don't want it to be a square that's just going to hit. You're going to see a lot of abrasion and a lot of scratches and wear on a square anti-rocker wheel. After it gets broken in, a square anti-rocker wheel ends up looking like this. So this is what an anti-rocker wheel should look like in my eyes. There are a few anti-rocker wheels out there that come stock on frames. Not a big fan of most of them. So this is the one that came on the rollerblade blanks, I think. And as I was saying before about the square, I really dislike this design. I think that having a square wheel, you can see the areas that I was skating this. It just sticks. And whenever you skate, you hear this squeaking sound when people jump on a grind. That's because this plastic is squeaking off. You can see it's trying to become a good anti-rocker wheel, but it can't because it is square. It's wearing down a little bit at the edge, but it can't wear down enough because it is square. They are cheap though. They grind fast and they're usually included with your skates. A better version is this one that comes with the Featherlight 4s, these actually I think came with my USD 7s. They are very similar to the dead ones. Look very similar. This is a 44 mil, this is a 45 mil. Probably very similar hardness, but you can see the profile is really nice. They usually include these little metal things that where the axle goes through. That just helps them stay in the frame. You don't want straight on plastic. It will never spin. Not that these are designed to spin, but they'll spin a little bit. Not really, but they're designed to fit in the frame, and this keeps the tolerance nice and clean. Probably the best anti-rocker wheels out there. Now, this is the same company that's making those new anti-rocker wheels. Probably learned a lot from these anti-rocker wheels and putting them into the new ones. The Kaiser ones, they have an interesting concept that I think was initially developed through the Higgs boson back in the mind game days, where instead of having a completely chamfered edge like these, they use a few different edges. So this would be a completely flat edge, and then it would be a flat edge, and then it would be a flat edge. So it kind of creates this hexagon style look to it. I don't know if that really adds anything, to be honest, especially if the wheels aren't going to spin super fast. You're just going to end up with a wheel that looks like this, right? Because as there is a little edge, if you grind on the side of the wheel, it's just going to grind down a little bit. But I don't know. I haven't skated them yet. Again, I think it's awesome that they're bringing them out. I hope that they come stock on some of the frames, because personally, I think these square anti-rocker wheels that come on the Fluid 4s, not the right anti-rocker wheels for this setup. I think these that came on my USD 7s, huge upgrade. Not only are they cheaper, but they have the right angle so that as this has a really wide split and a deep groove, this angle will really come into play, and it will keep me from getting wheel bite with these anti-rocker wheels. I think that's it. There are a few other ways that you can skate. You can go freestyle. There's a lot of people out there that like freestyle, but it was more of a thing that was really popular back in the mid-2000s. The anti-rocker and flat, those are the two kind of camps. If you remove the middle wheels altogether and you don't have anti-rocker wheels at all, usually they call that freestyle. There's a few ways that you can skate freestyle. Instead of skating with anti-rocker wheels, you can put blocks on the inside. We make these juice blocks. They're good, they're cheap, they're easy to put in there. They fit inside the frame, kind of like, I don't know if they'll fit in this frame, but they would fit in here, and they would go flush with the frame so that they just basically create a flat grinding area. I think Create Originals makes them as well for their frames. The catch is that they're usually specific to the frame. There are also freestyle frames themselves, so frames that were designed without the ability to put wheels on the inside. First ones that were made were probably these Mook frames. These came on the Shadows back in the days. They were designed so that you couldn't put wheels on the inside. So this is a completely freestyle frame. There's no way to put wheels in there. You couldn't skate anti-rocker or flat if you tried. Very interesting design, especially since these usually came with 54 to 56 millimeter wheels, so it was a really low profile ride. A lot of interesting grinds you could do with this. Unfortunately, this kind of fell out of fashion. It kind of looks weird, just to be completely honest. I don't think the look of a freestyle frame is great. This huge wide V creates these really weird habits when you're doing grinds. You can kind of grind anything, which means that you don't really have a purpose for developing good style. Or some people skate freestyle and have great style, but you don't have to. And I feel like there's a lot of people out there that just kind of lean into the freestyle frame as their handicap, their crutch. They don't have to try hard. Absolutely fine. I mean, if that's what makes you happy when you're skating, who am I to judge? There's no competition in skating. You go out there and skate however you like. And if you can't get boot down on a Royale, skating an anti-rocker with an anti-rocker frame, and this lets you do it, then go out there and do it. I mean, so long as you're skating, I'm happy. But personally, I think the style that you get on a freestyle frame, typically the style you get on a freestyle frame isn't as good as a style that you get on an anti-rocker frame. And as a connoisseur of skating media, I love to look at people who have really good style. But yeah, freestyle was definitely a thing. It was huge in the 2000s. A lot of freestyle frames came out. Not a lot of freestyle frames are still around though. What do you prefer? Do you skate anti-rocker? Have you ever skated anti-rocker? I posted that on the Instagram yesterday, and there were a lot of people out there who were like, I never stopped. There were a lot of people out there who said, why would I ever skate anti-rocker? It's an interesting argument. It's almost as contentious as the Savannah Alley-Oop Unity argument. Not as contentious. People can skate however they want, but there is only one Savannah, and that's the right call, right? Everybody agrees with that. All right. Antirocker wheels, always fun if you are interested in learning more about Antirocker wheels. There is another video that I did a few years back. Might have gotten into more detail, I don't really know. This is a nice little update. I've learned a lot about Antirocker wheels, especially topical since Kaiser released their new Antirocker wheels. It's important to get the right Antirocker wheels for your setup. Big takeaway, make sure that you get Antirocker wheels that have a nice angle to them. Whatever brand you want works. Find a material that you like. Usually UHMW or something machined will give you the best slide, and something with urethane will give you the most durability. If you can find a stock anti-rocker wheel that is molded out of some injection-filled nylon or something like that, probably your best bang for your buck, so long as it has a really nice angle to it. You don't want to compromise and get one that's square angles, because there's nothing worse than getting laughed at for squeaking all over the place at a session. All right. Thank you so much. Needed to get that out of my head. I saw a lot of people talking about anti-rocker this last couple of weeks, and a lot of people saying, how could you ever get wheel bite on anti-rocker? And I figured out why, so hope that helped explain that to people. All right, 10:30, wrap up with a few more questions, and then we will get out of here. I hope everybody is enjoying the show. Make sure that if you need a helmet, you go to backtoblading.com/helmet. It's a very important time for wearing helmets. We've had a few injuries in the community, and I want to make sure that people who need helmets at least have access to a helmet. Backtoblading.com/helmet for our helmet giveaway. Thank you all for wearing your helmets and being smart about it out there. Even if you don't wear a helmet, make sure that you encourage people who do. If it's not for you, it's not for you. I'm not your dad. I'm not going to make you do it. But you'll see more people wear helmets in the future. I know that's the thing. As we get older, as we get more responsibilities, I think it's the smart thing to do. Anyway, back to your questions. Pat Wolfman 83. Would you think of making Brandon Drummond a sponsored skater for Standard? I don't know. I mean, I like Brandon. I think he's an amazing guy. I haven't known him for long, and I don't know him that well. But I do consider him a friend, somebody that I chat with, from time to time, just about industry stuff. He seems like a really, really smart guy, and I love his passion and everything that he's done for blading. Sponsored, I don't think so. I mean, nothing against Brandon, but I don't know that he wants to be a sponsored skater, at least on that level. I think he loves repping Shred City. And, obviously I've flowed him frames in the past. I'll definitely flow him some skates. I want him to let me know, because I appreciate his opinion on things. I want to know what he thinks. But I don't know that he wants to be that guy. Maybe he does. I think he likes doing his blader news in his videos, though. True Skeet, minor speed bump. Yes, minor speed bump. Not a huge deal. Sucks, but I got through it. Darren, hi Law, off topic, but I have my 4 grinds solid lock-in, jumping up and sliding 0.5 meter to 1 meter. Excellent. But scared to throw speed into it, even if I know I'm rock solid both ways. Any tips? Throw speed at it. Speed is all relative. When I feel like I'm skating fast, I'm probably skating much slower than most skaters. And I'm probably skating faster than the other half. I think you should feel like you're skating as fast as you feel comfortable skating. I love going out there and just skating hard. And sometimes you find a skate park or you'll find a parking lot or something where you can just skate. And that's the first step. You should feel really confident with your wheels. I see a lot of people trying to focus on grinds before they really realize the key to skating. They don't have their angles. They don't have their edges. They don't have forwards and backwards crossovers. They don't have the fundamentals of skating. And that makes it hard to skate fast to a grind. So I don't know where you're at in the skating spectrum, but definitely focus on skating fast before you start focusing on grinding fast. When you get to that spot, to get to that fast grind, there's a lot of just do it. You've just got to have the confidence to skate. I usually find that when I'm skating fast to a ledge, the hardest thing for me to do is judge my speed. And when I'm skating faster to a ledge, I always seem to jump a little bit higher. And that's something that you should just keep in mind. If I'm skating downhill, I always have a difficult time judging that speed. And I'll slow down because I feel like I'm skating faster than I am. So finding a spot that's flat really helps. Wax the hell out of it. Make sure that there's so much wax on that ledge that there is no potential for you to stick, because there's nothing worse than going fast and sticking on a ledge. Speed will help you get through those sticky areas, but there will still be sticky areas. And if you're not ready for it and you skate really fast up to something and you jump on sole or something and you stick or you get wheel bite, you get thrown because your momentum is still flying in that direction. So make sure that you wax the heck out of things. And then, just go for it. I don't know that there's really any trick to it. Just gradually step it up. If you take 2 strides to get to the spot, start a little bit further back and do 3 strides. Start a little bit further back and do 4 strides. Little incremental speed bumps that will really help you get to that point. I'm not the fastest skater, but I feel like that's what helped me. You seemingly have the confidence on the grinds. Now you just got to put those two together, that you get really good at the skating. You've already got the grinds. Just put them together and get more confident. Good luck. Wax, wax, wax. Super important. Make sure that you wax the heck out of things, because you definitely don't want to stick when you're skating at speed. Good question. And keep us posted. I know that you come by from time to time, so would love to hear how you're doing. And ping me on the Instagram as well, or on the YouTube, and let me know. Terrorize conversation that included me but didn't have much to do with me. Matt C, what is the 42 shells Mondo versus 44s? So the 44, I'm assuming you're talking about standard. The 44 is 29.5, and I'm a 28.5 foot. The 42 is probably going to be 28. Is that right? 28.5. The internal, see, we're still trying to figure out the 42. So it's hard to say. I want to say that each of the feet, we're going to add 10 millimeters so that 28.5, I would be 29.5 internal shell. But we need to get the testers in front of it. I know that works for me with the RL1s. That is my baseline. So hopefully we'll have some feedback next week and we'll be able to share all of those. But yeah, I hope that it's going to be 10 mil more than the foot size. And I will share those measurements as soon as we have them dialed in. But until then, I don't have them confirmed. So when I confirm them, I will. All right. Couple more questions, scrolling to the bottom. Wyco Booter, is Chroma still going to make anti-rockers? I didn't mention Chroma, and there's a reason for that. We made anti-rocker wheels for a while. They were urethane anti-rocker wheels that I was hand pouring here in the warehouse. And I have a set here. Actually, it's almost Pride Month, so we have our Pride. These were the Pride anti-rocker wheels that we made for Pride Month last year. Definitely a rough year if you have friends in the LGBTQ+ community. definitely time to celebrate and make sure that they know that we love them and that it's important that they are here. It's been a weird climate, man. I tell you what, like, I don't know why people judge people for just living their lives. It's not like they, they're not coming over here and shitting on our beds or something like that. They're just living their life. Let them live their lives. Anyway, we made these wheels. So I absolutely loved the project. The problem is that these wheels were never really a moneymaker. I would spend probably 20 minutes making a set of 4. And we sold them for $40, 40 bucks, I think. They probably cost me like $8 in material to make. So it was definitely, when I was selling to shops, we sell to shops for 20 bucks, and then I would sell direct for 40, and it was really difficult. First of all, it was really difficult to make them. I could make them one-off. So if somebody wanted a set, I could make a set. But if a shop wanted 10 sets in each color, that was, 5 hours of work, and I have to let them sit for 30 minutes, 35 minutes between each pour so that they could cure, and then I could pop them out of the molds, and then, it was a huge process. I'm proud of what we've done, but I don't think we'll be making Antirocker wheels like this again. If I can find another way to make Antirocker wheels, I will. I love that we were able to make them, and for me personally, it was an awesome project to figure out, but it was just so hard and so much labor. Didn't really make sense. I do encourage other people to experiment, though. Maybe you have a little bit more downtime than I do, and you can make your own Antirocker wheels. There is a video up there on the Instagram, the Chroma Instagram, that shows the whole process of creating mixing the resin and then pouring the resin into the molds and curing it and using our pressure pots and everything. So it's definitely a thing that you can do. You can make your own wheels at home, but it is a lot of work and it might not be worth the money. Sean Michelson, any interest in doing a limited edition drop of some OG style UHMW juice blocks? I don't know, maybe. I wouldn't say no. I don't know that juice blocks, I guess they're fun. I love skating them. I don't know that there's much of a market for them. The problem is that they only fit a specific frame. It's hard to make, because the distance between, I keep using this frame, which doesn't really apply, but the distance between this H-block and the axle is always different for frames. Like, I don't think that's standardized on any frames. So trying to find some system that would fit on every frame, it's tough. So what are you making? You're making these Antirocker juice blocks for a single frame, and that's a small market. So I don't know that we would make enough that could actually sell juice blocks to everybody. I wouldn't say no about looking into it, but I don't know that there's a huge market for it. I have a lot of things on my plate right now. Not to say no, but yeah, probably not. Darren, loving listening to you as I skate and practice my grinds. Thank you so much. Stick with it, and more speed. All right, is that it? I think that's all of the questions. Good stuff. We are at 1:40 right now, so excellent time, not too late. I'll be able to get home and maybe watch Ted Lasso. Thank you for not spoiling it for me. I hope everybody is doing well out there. It is a great time. It's going to be a great year in skating. We have a lot in store for you at the Balance Distribution. I think every brand has something coming out in the next couple of months. So some brands have stuff coming out next month. I think you've already seen the mushroom blading 110 mil wheels. If you're looking for a little serenity, and you want to skate, I'm loving my 125s. You want to skate from 110s, whether you use the NR 110, the Wizards, or you use a 3x110, really great wheel coming out for you. Should be here in a couple of weeks. I think they're in customs now, so should be here soon. We got some stuff from 50/50 coming. Got some new frames from Compass coming. Got some new stuff from Chroma coming. It's going to be a really busy summer. So I hope that you are out there. I hope you have a lot of opportunities to skate. It's going to be slower this year than it was last year, and it's slower last year than it was the year before. And the reason is everybody who came back for COVID is now kind of, maybe they figured out that it's not for them, or maybe they got hurt and they don't want to skate anymore. You are still here, and the best thing that you can do to continue promoting skating is to go out there and skate. Get your skates, get some big wheels, go skate around town. Get your skates, go to the skate park when it's busy. Show people that rollerblading is an option. When I started skating again about 6 years ago, I would show up to a skate park and people would say, I've never seen anybody do that on rollerblades. I don't even know what those are. Kids would say, I don't know what those are. They would call them roller skates. We have changed the world over the last few years by getting out there in numbers, and people know what rollerblades are. People know what grinds are and what things we can do at the skate park. I feel as though the Barbie movie will help move the needle a little bit more. I feel as though COVID was a huge boon to our industry. All we got to do now is keep in the conversation. We got to keep going out there and skating, show people how awesome skating is, and people will come back and they will discover skating for the first time. There are lots of people out there who haven't skated yet who are probably going to love it as soon as they get out there. So if you are just out there, I do my part. Best thing that you can do, just go out there and show your love for skating. Very important that people see how cool skating can be. I hope you have a great week. I will see you again, hopefully in 2 weeks. 2 weeks? I can do 2 weeks? Yeah, I should be able to do 2 weeks. If I don't, it'll be 3 weeks, but always love doing these, and I'll see you next time.